Hello and welcome to today's video as we go over World Swiss Stage Day 1. Predictions went 7-1 on the day. I did have GAM beating FlyQuest, and as we can see here, FlyQuest did win. Figured, hey, there'd be at least one upset on the day. We didn't get any. I believe somebody on the Discord said they took underdogs in every prediction and went 2-6. So evidently, two of those seven that I got right or whatever were underdogs. I think that most of them are pretty self-explanatory, but so that's a thing. Otherwise, we got all these. We're going to just briefly go over these and then preview tomorrow's game. So, first we have BLG, Mad Lions, Koi, BLG win, Elk 729, 31% of damage on a Kaisa, Knight 919 on an Ari, Supa 333, 30% of damage on Tristana. Not a big surprise here. Mirwin did have two solo kills in this game on a Kaysante. Supa actually solo killed Elk, but BLG are just a much better team. When push came to shove in the late game team fights, the Eastern team beat the Western team, as is pretty standard. Mad getting to the late game is a nice, I guess, feather in their cap, if you will. But at the same time, BLG haven't played in quite a while. They're coming in cold. Mad are coming in warm, and the result was pretty expected. So that's kind of a thing. I mean, Wei had some bumps in the road as well. I know in the Discord we had an argument, well, not an argument, a debate on Wei versus Sean, and then Moham versus Kellen. And that, Wei has certainly made the team better, so without a doubt. We see it in the results. So, BLG, our strong team, they have the potential to win this entire thing. So I don't think there's much really to say about that one. Top Esports T1, this one was going to be competitive, and it was. Top win, Cream 2-1-10, 31% of damage. Actually, 34% on an Aurora mid. So Aurora now has been moved from top to mid as expected, a solo lane flex. I believe that champ is going to be picked throughout the tournament at quite a high rate, probably eventually replace Rumble. We did see Rumble a couple times today, but Aurora is going to probably replace it because Rumble is weaker. Now, TN2112 on a Skarner. And Guma 336, 35% of damage on an Ashe. So, interestingly enough, the Skarner out DPM'd the Renekton. So 369's Renekton pretty much taken out of the game very early. It might have been level 1. Guma on the Ashe. I think paired with Zeus, if I recall correctly, but I do know they were able to kill 369 very early, and that put 369 behind, and he really never dug out of that hole. But as the game went along, Top Esports were able to find the right team fights and win them. It was back and forth. It was not a one-sided affair. I think Faker might have played Nico. Nico, a common pick today as well. Something that we may see throughout the tournament. We did see it with, even CB Lull were the first ones to bring it out. Pain Gaming in the support role. Gen.G Weibo. This is the most, I said Top Esports T1 was the most competitive game. On paper, going into, today, that's what we'd identify. But Gen.G Weibo, in my opinion, was probably the one that had you on your toes the most because it ended with an Elder. Gen.G win the Elder fight, and then they ace and win the game. That's what it came down to. It was a 45-minute game between two teams that hadn't played in a long time with very talented players that didn't want to int their face off. There are moments where players are going to play uncharacteristic, and that is what it is. They got to knock the rust off and shit like that. But they're also playing careful. This is World. This is, you may be on your couch saying these guys are playing too passively, this, that, and the third, and you may be right to some degree. But at the same time, you have no stakes. They do. So that's kind of why, why they're doing it. It's weird. It's the dynamic of it all. Chovy 917, 40% of damage with Smolder mid. So that's a thing. Saw a couple Smolders today, I believe. Callista 708 pays. So said that backwards. So pays 708 on Callista, playing clean League of Legends, a common KDA pick and pick'ems. Came in with over a 10 KDA, so him not dying. Honestly, it was a bit of a surprise, given that the game went so long and there were quite a few team fights. You'd figure Pace would have been picked off eventually, but it was not the case. Breathe, struggling on the Jax, in my opinion. Keen on the Rumble. I mean, he was a little more useful, but even after the game, he did say that the Rumble is not as strong as it used to be. He still finds value in it, which is why I picked it, but it is not as strong as it used to be. Xiaohu on the Lucian, though, leading the way 4, 4, and 5, 37% of damage, and he did have a moment that was honestly almost solo killed Chovy as he escaped a team fight and was clear. I believe he had extended the game to the Elder fight with this because they lost a team fight hard around Baron, and he decided to clear out the mid wave, go to top side, and clear that wave out as he's being chased, and almost got Chovy. Pays ended up cleaning him up and getting the shutdown, but Zhao who got Chovy down to like 5% HP, not even. And that just is a glimpse of how good Xiaohu is. His Lucian actually, surprisingly, a disgusting win rate of like 88% in 30 games. No. Was it 30 games? I think it was. Like 31 games with an 88% win rate. And even when you take out the top lane games, which I think just kind of goes to show you how good he is also because he was able to do it in top lane. But I still think he's like, I want to say 15 and 4. Something like that on Lucian. Just a pick that, given this past year and saying, on the AD champs, Xiaohu really hasn't shown up as much as we'd like and this or that. Well, we look at his entire career, he's very, very good on Lucian. Fnatic D+ win this one. Showmaker, 618, 39% of damage on LeBlanc, showing us why LeBlanc was heavily banned against Dplus KIA, and yet not a common pick really anywhere else in the world. I think LeBlanc got a buff going into this event, and it is a big buff for D+ to be able to draw that ban and force the opposition to maybe give him Syndra. And as we saw after the game, Showmaker say that he believed he had the best Syndra at the tournament. King in 3-2-11 on a Gnar. A lot of comfort here as well. LeBlanc being Showmaker's most played, Gnar being Kingin's, and aiming Ezreal also most common pick for him. Razork 237, 32% of damage on Zyra jungle. We hadn't seen that in a minute, and we saw it today. Fnatic and G2 probably scrimming each other because we did see the brand into the Zyra. The brand and the Zyra between those two teams today. But this game, very close in the end. I mean, D+ opened up a massive lead. Fnatic were able to crawl themselves back into it, and then D+ ends up taking the final team fights and win it. The final team fight, to be very specific. D+ are on that line of, are they going to make quarters? Are they not? Them throwing that lead as an example of that. Personally, I think Kellen should be in this lineup. Their issues in the mid game kind of go to show that really the shot calling has not improved all that much for this team with Mohan being brought in, which is what his purpose is. So as far as I'm concerned, if your macro isn't better, which we can see in numbers, everyone doesn't like talking about numbers because it hurts their feelings. But if you look, objectives should be up, right? Like they should be getting more Drakes, they should be getting more Barons, they should be getting things like that, and maybe they are. I haven't looked at it, to be honest. It just doesn't feel like it. It feels like D+ are pretty much just where they were before with Kellen. So there's that. So that's the thing. Just kind of going back to the Discord here, and I know, you guys watch videos, so it's just one of those things, we can see things in numbers. So when we make an argument, there are numbers to back it up. People don't like talking about numbers because it may say, oh, well, shit, actually, I was wrong about that. That's fine. You could be wrong about something. I could be wrong about this. Maybe they have more Drakes now. Maybe they're averaging more Drakes. Maybe they're averaging more Barons a game. Maybe they're taking turrets. Maybe the games are shorter in their wins because they're cleanly winning games where they weren't with Kellen. These sort of things you can see with numbers. Everything pretty much can be seen with numbers in some way, shape, or form, and these ones are pretty easy to get. It's just a matter of looking them up. So that's a thing. D+ win over Fnatic. Not a big shock. Team Liquid LNG. I did take LNG in this one. Scout 5-1-10, 32% of damage on Tristana. Gala 9-1-9 on a Jhin. Probably the best Jhin performance of the day. Yeon 1-3-6, 38% of damage in the loss. LNG just by far the better team. It was a slow early game, but as the game progressed, LNG just took it pretty much from Team Liquid. There was a key team fight in the mid to late game that kind of really sealed the deal. But, I mean, LNG were already pretty much in control of this game. They were the better team. It was going to be hard for them to end up losing it. Going into this event, I think I had LNG as one of the two teams I guaranteed out of quarters. After thinking about it more yesterday and things like that, and I'm not hedging. I mean, the fact of the matter is the prediction is in. But I was thinking, LNG probably got enough of a window of time to allow Scout to get here and to kind of forget about all the drama. If it was like last minute and they'd actually had Yagao scrimming with them and things like that in Europe up until like, I don't know, Sunday or something, like 3 or 4 days ago, it probably would have been different. But LNG probably are going to get to quarters now. Not only because of today, but frankly because Scout's been with them for quite a while now and they're able to get past their crap. HLE PSG. This one-sided affair. HLE are the better team. PSG just a slow loss. Their team composition was not very good in my opinion. Not something that you play into a team like HLE. Zeka 639, 32% of damage on Yone. That's a dangerous thing to do. Give him Yone. Doran 5110 on a Gnar. Maple 353, 35% of damage on a Kali. Peanut running circles around Gen.G. This is just a one-sided affair. I mean, I said PSG are going to beat teams that are worse than them because they're simply better. That's not a weird thing to say. I guess how I really want to say is talk about PSG, I'm like, they're the type of team that's going to punish you for making mistakes. HLE are a way better version of that team in that way. So, I mean, if PSG play a perfect game, HLE are still going to beat them because HLE are going to play a pretty clean game of League of Legends, and that's what happened. Viper and Delight are just they're going to they are going to take your lunch money, and they did. They took Betty and Woody's lunch money. Doran into Aja. That was one-sided. A lot of lane swaps today, though, which I was going to add some laning numbers on here in this blank part because it's so weird having this middle part here. But with lane swaps still being a thing, I mean, outside of the mid lane, I really don't even want to bother. FlyQuest GAM Esports. Like I said, I thought GAM could take this, theoretically, coming in warm. FlyQuest coming in cold, but Fly, we're prepared. GAM this draft is not one that's going to win you games. So, Quad 403, 32% of damage on Oriana. Masu 404 on a Callista. Kia 020, 35% of damage on a Gnar. So, if your two best players are top in jungle, to me, you're not going to put them on Gnar and Vi. If your Gnar is dealing 35% of your team's damage, and don't get me wrong, he dealt a lot of damage, and it's because he's into a Scion, and a Scion just ate the damage. So, why are we going, Gnar and Vi? Those are your two best players. It's just a matter of fact. You could argue Bwipo is FlyQuest's worst player. I don't believe that. I guess he thinks that. I mean, he's around the team, and he's maybe being humble, this, that, and the third. I don't think he's their worst player. I don't think he's the player to attack, but at the same time, KIA is by far GAM's best performing player in a carry role. So, KIA should be on a carry of some sort. You got to play one-dimensional if you're a team like this one. And Levi has to be on something with some more agency than Vi. The Vi is just not something I want to see Levi on. That just limits Levi. And, today I haven't really paid attention to the team content. I really seldom do. Seldom watch really any content in the community. Don't have the time. So, to hear that Maple and Levi have pretty much hung them up this year, that this is it, they're going out in the right way. Got to the main event. That makes it all the sweeter that they are at this event and got to the Swiss stage. We're able to remind everybody how good they are, especially Maple, because Maple had spent some time in the LCS and LPL and had struggles to those that may not have paid as close attention to how he was performing. But as far as Levi, it is a monumental career that he had. One of the best minor region junglers ever. You could put him in the conversation as best Vietnamese player of all time. course, people are going to say SFM as well and others, but I think he deserves a moment in that argument. So for them to even be here is something really, really, it's important. It's important for those that are watching to see Levi and Maple before they are done and playing at the highest level of competition. But FlyQuest and GAM, FlyQuest just slowly crushed them. I think the kill score was 9-1. Just a very boring game. I say this all the time. Minor region teams, and especially teams that are not expected to win, need to play carefree and need to play super aggressive. That leads into G2 Pain Gaming as well. So G2 win. They scrim on stage. In my opinion, I'm going to say this. People don't like when I say this. But, so Yike goes 6-2-10, 33% damage on Brand. Caps 304 on Yone. It's like his 4th career Yone game ever. Broken Blades playing Yasuo, his 6th game. We've never seen Yone Yasuo on the same team in an international event before. That's something to think about. Jinquedo, 5-11, 38% of damage on Smolder. So, Pain just weren't, like, this composition, Smolder is a scaling pick. They played not to lose, and they lost anyways. G2 ran circles around them on the Rift, opened up a massive lead without having to do all that much. It was one of those games where a team that's not as good as the other one, especially in macro, and we talked about, Pain got out of play-ins because of their chaos. Now, Rainbow 7 also played a messy game in series, which is fine. That's why it was so crazy and wild of a game 3, because both teams were it was a brawl. You have to make the game a brawl. If you are a team, if you're an underdog, you need to do it. You're not going to, in my opinion, you're not going to outsmart this other team. You could. But based on how we've been playing, that is not going to happen today, right? We see Pain's got a ton of problems with macro. That is not your win con. Your win con is to make things scrappy, to make things messy, and try and win some team fights. Once that started happening, G2 won the game. They already had a significant enough gold lead. They were in control. You gave them the keys, and they just kept driving. And Pain just were in the back seat, going for the ride. It was unfortunate. Hopefully it wasn't one of those situations where we have players that are kind of afraid of blowing it. Not only that, but also the possibilities of being able to go to other regions and things like that. I really hope that the community has not pumped the tires so much that players are kind of playing passively in hopes of not, looking bad. Like, the thought is, to me at least, when I thought of Pain during play-ins, they're playing, hey, everyone expects us to finish last. I think we're okay. And they go and they win. But they go into this event and now they're afraid. That can't happen. That just can't happen. And it is the first main event game for Brazil in a very long time. First one for any of these players. And it's just, that could have been part of it as well. The big lights are, they're the big lights, right? You're on the main stage now. So that is a thing. It was too bad. It was too bad, but G2, we expected G2 to probably win this one. And the mid lane was going to be a difference, but it wasn't. It was more than that. It was just a masterclass on macro. Preview for tomorrow. So winner side of things, G2 HLE. They've never played against each other. So I dug a bit. We were looking at Worlds 23. Technically, G2 played Gen.G, so we could compare top, jungle, or support if we wanted to. I just did jungle because Aloja in the Discord. Peanut blew out Yike 7-1-27, Yike 1-7-5 in the loss. That's why we brought it up, because Yike was terrible in that series, and Peanut smoke showed him. Dplus and FlyQuest, they've never played against each other. And the last time any of these players crossed paths, or actually crossed paths at all, occurred in the LCK in 2023. Quad playing for Nongshim Red Force, and Showmaker playing for Dplus. Showmaker 817, 39% of damage in the win. LeBlanc both games. Quad 234, 24% of damage, playing Cassiopeia and Azir. Gen.G Top Esports. I am not including EWC in this because that tournament is a farce. So, MSI, Gen.G 132, Chovy 13, 12, 24, 38% of damage in the win. Ugly KDA, a lot of DPM, over 1,000. Cream, 22, 8, and 20, 32% of damage. Great KDA, not as much damage, but Cream really showed up in that one in that 5-game set. That was a very, very exciting series, and hopefully we get a good game tomorrow between these two teams. Certainly, looking at this board, it is the best of the cross-regional matchups. Now, we have LNG and BLG here because that just, I guess, is the way it happened. I don't know why they didn't they're saying, oh, it's rigged, this and that. No, it should just be redrawed. They said they didn't want this to happen, right? So, simply take one of these 4 teams and play them against LNG and BLG against the other one. I don't see the problem with doing that afterwards. Now, losing side of things. T1 and Pain Gaming. Never have they played against each other. Never has any of those players crossed paths. So that is, and I don't want to, leave it blank because, obviously a lot of Brazilian people are going to be watching this, but nobody's played against each other. I looked at even Weiser and Zeus. Zeus never played in Challengers when Weiser did, and Weiser only played 1 game of LCK, so it wasn't against Zeus. And then Curry and Keria never crossed paths in Curry's 3 games of LCK play, and then I don't believe Curry ever played in Challengers. So they've never played against each other, so that is what it is. PSG Mad Lions Koi, they just played each other not too long ago. Supa 23, 6, and 11, 46% of damage in the win. Betty 13, 5, 10, 36% of damage in the loss. Weibo Team Liquid. These teams have never crossed paths. We had to dig deep for 2018 LCK for when these teams had players cross paths. Umpty and Tarzan. Umpty on the time with Jin Air Green Wings and would win. He replaced Cacao. Cacao played in game 1 and then was replaced by Umpty in game 2 and 3, and Umpty would win, going 409. Tarzan on Griffin at the time, 156. Fnatic and GAM Esports, they played at MSI. Fnatic would win 2-0 in that one. Noah. 28, 6, and 16, 35% of damage in the win. Easy Love, 6, 9, 14, 32% of damage in the loss. So that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.